Hey everyone, this is Aaron at Popaholic, and today I'm talking to Nick Piunti. Hey Nick, how you doing this evening?
Good, Aaron. How are you?
Great. So you have a new album called Up and Out of It, and just came out. It's coming out like within a day or two now, and I really liked it. I really loved the first couple songs, "Seasick," "Bottle It." Very much, it's a bunch of songs about how cool it is to make songs like this, which is nice. Tell me a little bit about the process for this album. Was it a little different from your last album? Was there anything different that you tried this time? Because I think it all sort of wrapped up really nicely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I usually write songs, just kind of on my own. But with this record, Joe Doc Savage, that's his name. I swear, thinks he's like a superhero by calling himself Doc Savage. I pronounced his name wrong for the first year. I thought it was like Doc Sowitz. He said, Doc Savage. Like I said, come on, really? But anyway, he co-wrote a couple songs with me, and usually, not that I'm a control freak, but I usually have enough songs for every record that I do. And though I've done some co-writing with Ryan Allen in the past, but Joe had one kind of basic riff for one song, and that turned into "I'm Ready." And then the other song that I co-wrote with him was called "Mind Reader." And he pretty much had the music down. It might have helped him with the bridge, I can't remember, but and then I put melody and lyrics to it. So that was kind of fun, a little bit of diversion, because since I write all the songs, on the album, I kind of have my methods and my tried and true things, but it was nice to kind of shake it up a little bit with Joe's thing. But then even then, the songs that I wrote on the record, some of them have a different vibe, and I'm 64 now, so I kind of do my thing, and I'm not trying to reinvent myself. It's just like whatever kind of comes, whatever comes by or comes into my head and reinterpret. And the band's works hard in, making it fit, into what we do.
Yeah, it's definitely fits. You definitely have a style that fits, and you're consistently good, I might add, and it all sort of works really well. And one of the other things I was going to ask is, are the guitars you're using as far as your system to create your sound, are the guitars pretty much the same, or or do you switch up guitars
Yeah, I
from
switched up a
song to
lot
song?
because I'm only allowed to have so many guitars because I have a wife, and she's really good at math. And then I get bored, I just like I've got there's a guitar store in town called Detroit Guitar, which is actually in Birmingham, Michigan. And Charlie, the owner, is great with me, and he knows I'm going to buy guitars and make music with them. And I'll get something for a while, and it's something else will catch my eye. I said, "Hey, what you give me this?" And he's always super fair. And so there's the tools of the trade. I could have, probably made every record with the guitars I used on 13 in my head, and listeners might not have heard much of a difference. But it's like if you ask any guitar player, you pick up a guitar and you play a certain way. But I think with this album, Joe, our guitarist, I kind of turned all the lead guitars over to him. He
Mhm.
was on like half of the last album. I think that's when he joined. Kind of a blur, but we worked out all these songs together, and he's super melodic. So that um, gave it a different vibe, different feel. Uh,
Right.
I can always think of melodic parts, but he thinks of it in a little bit slightly different way, not too much different than what I would do because I like everything he comes up with, but he's got a little bit more dexterity with the instrument than I do. And he's a great guy. He's a baby of the band. He's like only 40 years old, but he's got an old soul, so he fits in with us old guys.
Excellent, excellent. So, well, let me, all right, that's perfect. So let me sort of turn back the clock a bit. Because one thing that I think, even in my last interview with you, I don't know if I even asked how you actually got started writing music and what bands you were in before when you first started. Give me a little quick history about Nick Piunti and you know what got you interested in music and wanted you to play guitar. Who was the guitarist who inspired you to basically pick up that guitar and learn to play?
Well, I had a best friend growing up. His name is Pete Maderi, still a really close friend of mine. And him and I went to school together. We met in I think third grade. He's the historian. And
Right.
anyway, him and I started a band with another good friend named Mike Finn, who was the lead guitarist of the band. It was called Dwarf. And since I was especially diminutive in that back in 1972. I don't think I hit 5 foot until I was in ninth grade. So the name dwarf was kind of funny, but that was before, and you could say dwarf, and you didn't have to say little person, but it was
Right.
okay to say dwarf back then. But that was the name of our band, and we got together and we really started writing songs as soon as the band started. We had a manager named Merle who was but 9 years older than us, and he was a super Beatle freak and music fan, and though he was a drummer. So I'm not saying he wasn't a musician. He was a drummer, of course. He was a musician,
Right.
but he kind of knew pop music and really helped us learn to write songs and arrange songs. You've got a verse, you got 8 bars, and you go to the chorus, and then do that again. Then you're gonna have a bridge, and you're gonna have a solo. So Merle was really integral in kind of us learning to be a real band. And he had a couple of his friends that helped us through the years, Bill Lynn, another good friend of mine. And sadly, both Merle and Bill have passed on, and they're moved on to another plane. But they really got us going and made us think that we were made probably better than we were. But as the years went on, we listened to so much music, Beatles, of course, and Stones, and then Bill Lynn introduced us to the Move and Aerosmith, and there was just all this great '70s music and then the New York Dolls came along, and the Shoes. I heard about the Shoes back then, probably before anyone else knew of them. The Raspberries, of course, from Merle, and we'd go to his house, and he'd have all these singles and records, and we just absorbed
Wow.
it. We were all kids in a band together, and we were gonna be we're going to be rock stars. That was the plan. So
How
we saw
long did Dwarf last?
Dwarf lasted from 1972, and we moved to Los Angeles in 1984 with the original three guys, Mike, Pete, and myself. Um, we kind of Merle was kind of looking at that time to maybe make it more of a living, like doing cover band things. And I was the one that kind of said, I really don't want to do that. I just want to play original music. I'd rather work a day job and play a few nights a week. I don't want to be a cover band. And so I guess I kind of quit the band. There were some little hard feelings for a little while, but it was growing up. We finished college, and I was like, what are we going to do next? I don't want to be a cover band, So I went to work at a family restaurant for a little bit, but said, let's give it one shot. We moved to Los Angeles for a couple of years. And I've told the story a lot, but probably not to you. But we were, a Midwestern pop rock band influenced by, of the day was probably the Replacements or REM, and went to LA, and that scene was changing into like Poison. The Plimsolls were out, and it was Poison and LA Guns and Faster Pussycat and Guns N' Roses, and that really wasn't our scene.
Really
But we,
harder material than
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
than you guys did.
So it was like I did a couple of years of that, and then probably got a little homesick. And Pete, who was my best friend, left the band to get married, and he kind of knew that the band was changing, and I could see the future maybe a little bit better than I could at the time. But I moved back to Michigan without the band. Um, Met a guy that he was a big fan of my songwriting. Um,
But anyway, so just so finish up how you sort of moved to the Complicated Men from that point.
Yeah, Complicated Men came years after. I was still writing songs and recording, but then I started a family, got married in 94. Had a couple daughters, and then thought I'd start getting back into kind of making music, going in the studio again. That happened when I was in the early 40s, did a solo record, did a couple albums with a band called The Respectables. And it was a little maybe heavier Detroit rock, but some power pop influences too. Thought that was it. Then honestly, I heard a band called the Friendly Foes in Detroit, Ryan Allen. And it was like
Yep,
kind of
I
blew me
remember the
away.
Friendly Foes. I also remember the Respectables as well. I think I reviewed it at one point.
Yeah, we were, I really wasn't sure what that world was about. And I was like, God, I should have been doing this kind of music a little earlier. Could have, I didn't really know about the whole Not Lame thing and all that and Your Sights and Absolute Power Pop. But, and then Chris Richards and the Subtractions, they were doing a real similar thing. And I got to be really great friends with Chris and the band. And I joined that band for a while. So between Ryan's band and then Chris Richards Subtractions, it's like, hey, there's like-minded people here. And
Yeah, and that's how
so
I ended up knowing you and meeting you through
yeah, we did
Chris
it.
Richards when you guys came to a Power Popaholic Fest
Oh
uh,
yeah, that was a
a while
blast.
while back
That
then.
weekend was
So
great.
yeah, no, that's excellent. Well, I appreciate the time, and I really enjoy the album. It's called Up and Out of It, and Nick Piunti. Um, Excellent music. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, like I said, I think I had mentioned on a past interview, out of all the artists I interviewed, I've consistently liked your music the best out of a lot of them.
Oh, thank
And
you.
this album is also no different. It's consistently great, and I encourage everyone to pick it up. Um, Tell me your the record label,
Yeah,
Marty Scott, Gem Records, right?
Yep. Gem Recordings, Gem Records, and through Gem, I get a lot of airplay on Little Steven's Underground Garage. We've had several coolest songs, and so that's great. Just to think at my age to keep doing it and feel like I'm getting better at something. The golf
Yeah,
game, I don't know, but
you are.
but,
You are. You're like fine wine here. You
that's
know.
what I say. Fine wine.
All right. Thanks so much, Nick.
Eric,
Appreciate
great
the
talking to you.
interview. Take care.
All right, thank you.